Well, it's day 3 of World's Group Stage, and I am joined right now by Kevin, who is the coach of Oysters, one of a couple, right?
Yeah, we have three coaches, including myself.
Okay, so first off, very corny joke. In the U.S., whenever somebody orders oysters, they say East Coast or West Coast for what coast the oysters are coming from. So for flying oysters, which coast are you guys for East Coast or West Coast oysters?
Probably West Coast. Isn't Don't most Americans think West Coast is better than East Coast?
I think so. I'm not a big oyster person. Drew, do you eat oysters? Okay, well, it's West Coast is better then. We're gonna go with that. Okay, so you guys are the West Coast oysters. Okay, so you guys have become a bit of a fan favorite, even though in North America you beat us, and I think a lot of people did not expect that. But a lot of people I think don't know much about flying oysters. So rather than talking about the specific games, I thought maybe you could help fill us in, a little bit on the organization. So, what is the background of the organization? How long has it been competing, etc.?
We just formed this year, so we started literally like in 2022.
Okay.
So we're like a brand new org, but the players have been around for a while, so it's not like the five players are inexperienced or anything like that. But as an organization, we're kind of inexperienced. So this is our first year competing. We got second place in spring. We lost to PSG in the finals. But then this time around, we were able to win the finals, so that's why we were able to come here.
I mean, making it as first seed to Worlds in your first year, that's pretty phenomenal for an organization. A lot of organizations would want that. Are you guys surprised at all you were able to do it after the organization formed?
I definitely was a little bit surprised. Our goal when we formed the team was to go to Worlds.
Yeah.
So obviously it would have been nice to go to MSI as well.
Yeah.
But just going to Worlds alone, I think, is pretty nice. And I think everyone's really happy with what we were able to do. So yeah, it's been great.
What has there's been so much talk about your name. You know, like even when we lost, the 100 Thieves team lost, and all the North American fans were like, we lost to a team called Flying Oysters. So I'm curious how much of what I've heard a little bit about the fact that it's apparently like a bit of a pun or a phrase, but maybe you can help understand what Flying Oysters comes from or what that name means.
So our sponsored company is a bank in Taiwan. Their motto is "We are family."
Yeah.
And when you pronounce the words "flying oyster" in Chinese, it sounds like the word "family."
Okay.
So that's why we're called Flying Oyster.
Okay.
So it's like in English, it just sounds weird. I saw a lot of comments on Twitter. It's like, "Oh, we lost to a bunch of seafood. Like, what the hell?" But yeah, like so in English, it sounds a little bit weird, but in Chinese, it makes a little bit more sense.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's why we're called Flying Oysters. There's a lot of people like that. Every time our name gets mentioned, like I think on the analyst desk, they even talked about it.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of people that know the name, and I think that's really cool that people were making graphics and stuff, and I thought it was really, really cool to see.
Yeah.
So yeah, like I guess Flying Oysters, like it's a really popular name. People really like us, so I'm happy for that.
Well, I think it's just great because so many other teams show up and you've got like T1 and they're like, oh, they got figured, and then you guys show up and people, because you're the you're a new org. I think a lot of people just hadn't ever heard of Flying Oysters before, and suddenly you guys are here taking games off of people. So it's been really fun for everybody. So so the organization was formed with the intent of going to Worlds. But how did you guys build out this roster? You know, what was kind of the history of creating the roster?
So roster building is really complicated. Like I think that, especially in League of Legends, because the game is constantly changing. So obviously, like I can't take full credit and say like, oh yeah, I knew this roster was going to be perfect.
Yeah.
There's always a little bit of luck. You see with like super teams, like sometimes it fails. So I think that when we formed the roster, instead of just getting like five really good players, I feel like sometimes role players are undervalued.
Yeah.
You can have a really good role player. There are role players that just like are like S tier, but you know they're not flashy or play like they don't make a lot of plays. But I feel like our team, we have a really good top, mid, ADC. We have two role players in jungle and support, and I feel like that helps enable our players to like make plays on stage and like like that firepower.
Yeah.
Sometimes a lot of teams don't have that go button. And I feel like our support especially has like that oomph to like push our team a little bit forward.
Okay, so obviously, as we talked about, you guys have become a bit of a fan favorite. But what do you think your chances are at Worlds this year and how far you think it could go. Because I was looking at your Twitter beforehand. You had memed and said, like, I don't know why people think we can't beat RNG. Here's, like, my thread of reasons or whatever, memeing on their name as random number generator. But, like, what are your honest expectations for how well this team can do?
Honestly, I feel like right now we are doing pretty well because nobody expected us to even beat 100 Thieves. They thought we'd be last place. Today's game against RNG wasn't too great, so I would say if we get third place, but if we do a really good job, I feel like we would have played above expectation. Obviously, the best would be to get second place and get out of groups.
Yeah.
That would be like, I feel like if we did that, we would have exceeded everyone's expectations because the PCS as a region hasn't even gotten out of groups since like 2015, I believe.
Yeah.
So we're looking at this year as a way to like try to bring the PCS back to like, you know, the good old days, I guess.
Yeah, yeah. While I was on your Twitter, I also saw you say something a couple of hours ago after Cloud9 lost, where you're like, I can't even watch these games anymore. It's so depressing watching NA lose. It is interesting to me that we have your sympathy, even as like a different region. So maybe you could explain a little bit of like why it's so painful for you, especially given that you were one of the teams that has contributed to our losing streak.
Well, I'm half American, half Japanese.
Yeah.
I grew up in Japan, so I have a soft spot for NA. It was like the first region I watched. You know, I used to be a TSM fan, C9 fan. You know, like you do that thing once you like, you know, you're like, oh, I want to watch NA League.
Yeah.
You start TSM, you know, Cloud9, you do all these things. So after 10 years of watching NA constantly fail, like just being fed, like, you know, you get hope. I think the last time I was hopeful for NA was 2019 with Team Liquid beating IG.
Yeah.
That was the year where I was like, okay, this is it. This is when NA finally shines. And then, you know, they go through, they don't make it out of groups.
Yes.
So, like, the reason why I made the tweet was, like, it finally felt good to, like, yeah, NA lost because of us, but it felt good to at least be the reason why they lost. It's not like, I'm not just sitting in the sideline watching them lose. I'm like, oh, no. It's like, you know, it's like, aha, now it's my turn.
Yeah.
I'm going to make you guys suffer.
It's like at least you're getting you know, it's a win-win or lose-lose situation, but normally it's just a lose-lose for NA fans. So I'm glad that you can look at it that way, where you can pick up a win. All right, how's the team enjoyed New York? Have you guys been able to get out and do anything, go get any food or anything, or has it just kind of been heads down scrimming the whole time?
We haven't really gone out much. We mostly stayed in our hotel room. Like, we don't really go out. We order a lot of food from Uber, I guess. I guess our plan is like, you know, once you get eliminated, then you have like the vacation time. So for at least for the next 2 weeks, we'll just sit down, grind out as much as we can, play as much solo queue, like Champions queue. And then once we lose, you know, either in group stage or quarters or whatever, then you should go out on vacation party. We went out once when we got here, but like it wasn't that much. And I think the players so far, they like America. Like they keep telling me that Americans are really nice. Because, you know, when you hold the elevator door open, they're like, oh, thank you, you know, have a good day. And in Asia, we don't really do that. It's always like, keep your head down, you look away, you know, look at your phone or whatever, you don't really make contact. So I think the players are enjoying that aspect of America. So I think, and I enjoy being here, so it's always nice.
You said the players are eating a lot of food. Do the players like oysters? Do any of them eat oysters? Is this a thing you guys order frequent? Like, I have to imagine it would feel very thematic if after winning PCS finals, you guys went out and ordered a bunch of oysters to celebrate. So how does the team feel about oysters as a dish?
I don't think we hate it, but I don't think anyone orders like a lot of oysters. Like I don't remember any time with the players like, you know what, guys, we're gonna get oysters today. It's just like if there's oysters, like, you know, we'll eat it, but it's not like something that I think the players are like, oh, this is our main dish. We're gonna eat it every time. You
guys have not embraced the oyster thing at all. It sounds like
No, but maybe that's the problem. Maybe tonight we'll just eat oysters, and then tomorrow we'll just get that charged up energy.
If you do, make sure they're West Coast. Is there anything that you want to say to any of the fans out there?
Thank you so much for cheering for our team. Thank you for liking the name. And be sure to follow us on our social media. And thank you, Travis, for talking to us. It's always great to be here.
Well, I really appreciate it. And as much as people should follow the Oysters on social media, I think your Twitter's also fire. So people should at least check it out because you've got some very fun stuff on there. So again, thank you so much for the interview. Rooting for you guys, though. If you beat 100 Thieves again, it's going to be really rough for us. So I don't know. We're going to have to figure it out. But anyway, thank you for the interview. And for everyone else, you can check out the rest of my coverage of all things Worlds right here on my YouTube channel. Hello. If you want NA to do well at Worlds, then please check out Alienware. There's no guarantee that doing that will actually help, but you know, it's kind of like the thought that counts. It's like a spirit thing. These people are very excited about Alienware. That's what they're cheering for right now, I promise. Be sure to check them out in the description below. Thank you to sponsoring the content. Thanks everyone for watching. Maybe consider subscribing. I'll catch you all later.